Hello and welcome to my podcast, Little Girls Aren't Taught This. I am your host, Self-Love Lydia, former self-love coach turned business coach and mentor. This is the podcast where you get clarity on exactly what it takes to create an authentic business that allows you to scale with sustainability. I'll discuss why strategy meets self-love and spirituality has been the foundation of my success and got me to where I am today. After creating 2 successful brands and businesses driven by impact, I generated thousands in income through the power of authenticity, life-changing signature programs, and passion for what I sell. I am on a mission to show you what's possible when you lead with purpose, when you sell with passion and you create a brand that gets you mentioned at the fucking table. My intention is to empower you with raw topics each week on business, self-love, female empowerment, and spirituality, so you can create freedom in your life with a business that you absolutely love. So let's dive right into this week's episode. Hello and welcome back to this week's podcast episode. I am coming to you from a very cold mountain house. We have officially, it feels like, plummeted into winter, which is so unexpected because, as you know, I'm living in California and everyone just always thinks California is beaches and sunshine and warm weather. And oh my God, the weather up here has a mind of its own in the mountains. So I am currently wearing a fluffy cardigan, nursing a mug of hot chamomile tea, and it's the first day of my inner winter, so it really feels like a good time to just sit and do some podcast episodes. So this episode I want to talk about truth and the pursuit of happiness, and this was really inspired by I went to see Jordan Peterson live, which, by the way, was absolutely mind-blowing and epic and just inspirational on so many levels. It was like mind and intellect orgasms on like a whole other scale. Like, it was just amazing. And it was so nice to just be present in a room and just listen, just like really listen to somebody. Like, I love Jordan Peterson. I think he is one of the most intellectual people around right now. I think he has paved so much change in not just the intellectual space, but this space of like self-help. And although I don't really link him with self-help, but I guess in a way, like, he really is about that, isn't he? He's about like just being better and getting curious. And obviously he's got a private practice, he's a psychotherapist, he was a lecturer. So for me, he's like a massive inspiration. I digress, fangirling about Jordan Peterson. But yeah, when I went to see him live, I really was inspired because for so long I spoke about wanting to do TED Talks and wanting to have a book. And for me, I think I've like fully realised what my purpose is in life, which I'm going to go into in another episode. And going to see him and seeing an arena packed full of people just to listen to somebody talk, like, it reminded me that all of these goals that we have and all of these visions that we have, like, they're so possible. Like, there was an arena full of people being silent, listening to somebody talk for 2 hours. Like, it's so possible, and it's so possible for you to have that level of like success and reach with your work and impact and everything that you do. And yeah, I just found it really inspiring because that for me is like, even if I had 1% of that, it would be unbelievable. And it made me like super emotional when he got a standing ovation. I was just like, oh my God, like, he's just so clever. But like, he's a lecturer, he's a psychotherapist, and he's in America. He's done a world tour just talking, and he's in America, and people are giving him a standing ovation when he walks out. And it's just like, it's insane. And he's so humble, or he came across so humble. So yeah, Jordan Peterson has been massive in my journey and is a massive inspiration for me. So going to see him was like a little early birthday treat. And I just want to talk about the 2 main things that I took away from his lecture and from his talk. And these were really like, oh my God, moments for me. And I think when I came out of the lecture, the more I thought about them, the more they really resonated with me and made a difference. And it was this notion of speaking your truth. And then it was also this notion that we think what we want in life is happiness, and listening to the way that Jordan Peterson spoke about this, and then actually going away and reflecting on my own journey of life, and just getting deeper into like the meaning of life and what it means to have like a journey and truly lean into life and truly live all of what life has to offer us. It was really interesting because it made me think about this notion of happiness and that being our main goal. And that's just what I want to go into in this episode. So this is just more like my reflections on these two really insightful topics. So the first one I want to talk about is truth, speaking your truth. Now, Jordan Peterson always says that he speaks the truth, and that has got the world so very divided on Jordan Peterson. Like, for some people he's the devil, for some people he's like the worst person in the world, for some people who like me, who really, really find him inspiring and really, really find him like just so authentic and raw and really, really like unapologetic in that. Like, you cannot take that away from the man, and he fully embodies that. And listening to his interviews, he talks about this a lot. He talks about speaking your truth. So when we entered the lecture, he was talking about this in more depth. And it's very different when you go to a lecture and you have no phone. You're just present for those, I think I was there for like 2 hours, 2.5 hours. You're just present listening, and you're present listening with 6,000 other people, and you feel the energy of the words that are being said, and they truly land in a different way. So I feel like going to this lecture, when he was speaking about speaking your truth, it was like landing and resonating on a deeper level. And, it was really tapping into those deeper parts of my subconscious, and then driving home thinking about the things that he said just really, really brought about a lot of reflections on speaking our truth and what that means. So for you, I just want you to think about it for a moment. Like, how much do you actually speak your truth? How much do you allow yourself to really express your fullest, truest part of yourself? So whether that's your desires, whether that's what you actually want, whether that's your boundaries, whether that's like small things like not meeting everybody else's needs and actually tuning into your own needs. Like, if somebody asks you to go out for dinner on a Friday and you don't want to go, how often do you allow yourself to speak your truth? If you feel into that percentage-wise in your life, do you think that's a lot, or do you think there could be definitely more space for you to start to lean into that? So in the lecture, one of the biggest things that really came up, and I just found so just perspective shifting, was this notion that when we speak our truth, whatever consequences we get from doing that, that's our journey. That's the thing that's meant to happen for us. And this kind of links into like the pursuit of happiness, the things that he was talking about. But often we don't speak the truth because we are fearful of the consequences. And what happens when we don't speak the truth is we create this alternative reality. We create these alternative situations that we begin to think are ours. So we begin to think that maybe the relationship that we have is the one that we want. So when we're talking about this, it's like that emotion and that energy of deceit. So we talk a lot and we think about other people being deceitful, other people doing things that are underhanded, or people doing things that make us feel a certain way. And actually, when we link this to speaking our truth and we think about this from our own perspective and ourselves with ourselves, when we don't speak our truth, how much are we actually allowing deceit and deception to control our lives? How much are we actually creating a reality that isn't actually what we truly desire. So how much are we holding back from saying the things that we truly want to say? How much are we manipulating our words? And I use the word manipulation, we do this to ourselves, and it's not like we do it with malicious intent to manipulate ourselves. It's just part of the human psyche. It's part of our shadow. It's part of all of these different parts. So how often do we fall into that self-manipulation where we truly want to say something, but we end up saying something different because we're fearful of the consequences? We're scared of setting those boundaries. We're scared of speaking our truth. We're scared of going into that office job and saying we don't want to do it anymore. We're scared of even truly letting ourselves lean into what it is that we desire. So with you and your business, telling yourself that you want one thing, do you actually want that? Is that the thing that you want? Is that your truth? Is that you speaking your truth? And all of these things, it's so interesting when you start to think about it and look at it, like even 10k months. Do you want, if this is something you're striving for, right? Is that you actually speaking your truth? Do you actually want a 10k month? Or are you just thinking that you want that because of what you think that will bring you, what you think that means about you? So when you think about speaking your truth, often it's fear of consequences, and those consequences can be judgment, they can be hurt of the self, they can be hurt of others, it can be uncomfortability, it can just be anything that doesn't allow us to stay in that space of comfort. So from the lecture, one of the biggest things I took away was actually whatever outcome we get when we speak our truth, whether that's hurting somebody else in order for us to have freedom, whether that's no longer having a consistent wage coming in every single month because you have decided that you don't want to work for somebody else anymore and you want to go freelance or you want to go self-employed. Whether that is setting a boundary and breaking a cycle, a generational cycle, whether that's breaking a cycle in a relationship, and that causes a lot of uncomfortability and discomfort and a lot of uncomfortable situations. Whatever outcome we get when we truly speak our truth is the outcome that is part of our journey. So this links into the pursuit of happiness part, because he was also saying that one of the biggest things as humans, we also say, like, what's the meaning of life? What do we want from life? And we all say, oh, we want to be happy. And he really went into depth on this and said, as humans, we don't want to just be happy because we thrive on, not thrive, but we're ungrateful. We're deeply ungrateful as humans. So if everything was perfect and everything was happy, we would find ways to mess that up. We would find ways to self-sabotage. We would find ways to create chaos and drama. And this was looking at it like a collective when we were talking about it in the lecture, or when he was talking about it in the lecture. And he was saying, so one of the biggest things actually is it's not that we always want to be happy. It's not that. Because if we woke up every single day and we were always happy, would we respect that? Would we make the most of that? Would we get bored feeling the same way all of the time? If we were happy, would we be out our comfort zone? Would we be growing? Would we have goals? Okay, so when you actually think about that happiness, is that the thing that we want? Which was super, super interesting, because that is the thing. If you ask most people, they say, I just want to be happy in life. And this perspective shift was huge for me. And actually, I think it was huge, that the one I'm about to go into, because I think for me in my life, one of the things I realized since I had my spiritual awakening is that life is not, and I think especially the last few years, and I know for you may resonate with this, and people listening, because we've all been through it. We've all had things come to us that we never ever imagined would happen. You might be listening to this and you recently lost somebody, or you lost somebody in COVID, or you missed time in COVID, or you feel like a portion of your life was taken away, or something's happened that's really forced you into uncomfortability and struggle, and has recently diverted you into something, or even if you reflect on past experiences in your life, it's caused you to reside in a space of uncomfortability and struggle. And I think one of the things I realised and really surrendered to over the last few years was that the light and dark of life and the ebb and flow of life, and actually that is what life is. And I remember I used to say, like, oh, I just wish life would give me a break. Like, I just wish I could just have a period of life when I was like super happy all the time. And actually, that's not, if I'm really honest, that's not what I would want. Because if I didn't lose my nan, if I didn't, have one boob last year, if I didn't move my life to America, I wouldn't be the person who I am today, the woman who I am today. I wouldn't have those pockets of growth. I wouldn't have those stories to tell. I wouldn't be the woman heading in the direction that I am now. And also looking at it from like a spiritual perspective, I wouldn't have that level of connection to myself, connection to, the higher forces above, whether you want to call that God, the universe, spirit, whatever it is for you. I wouldn't have those connections, and I wouldn't be as spiritually open and I think developed as I am now if I hadn't have had those experiences. And it's coming back to speaking our truth and the consequences. Whatever consequence we get makes for our journey. And actually, Jordan Peterson, this is one of the biggest things that I took away. It's like, it's not about making life happy. It's not about always being happy in life. When we think about the meaning of life, when we think about what it is that we pursue, what it is that when we get to the end of our life, we sit and we reflect on. And I don't know why I feel emotional saying this, but truly it's like, make a story that's worth living. Make all of that suffering we go through, make all of that pain that we go through, make all of that hardship that we go through worth it. So when we look back, we go, fuck, what a ride that was. And why this links into speaking our truth is because when we speak our truth, we carve out our own path, which means whatever struggles we go through from speaking our truth, or whatever hardship or uncomfortability we go through when we truly speak our truth, that's meant to happen. That's meant for us. We are meant to go through that. So what's the alternative? The alternative is that we don't speak our truth and another path is carved out for us, but that's not truly our path. And we're not actually speaking our truth. So then when we do experience any pain or uncomfortability, it's like, is it worth it if it doesn't stem from you being your most authentic, truthful self? And if you can speak from that space of absolute truth, and it's so hard, but if you can just continue to practice that and speak from that space, navigating those struggles becomes easier. So a quote that I just found, and I love it because it kind of sums up, but it's like, this is from Jordan Peterson. The risks that accrue for you speaking the truth are so much more minimal than the risks you accrue from deceiving yourself and other people. They're not even in the same universe. Speak your truth. So that's when we're talking about the risk and the pain. So I'll say it again. The risks that you accrue for speaking the truth are so much more minimal than the risks that accrue when you deceive yourself and other people. They're not even in the same universe, so speak your truth. And it's like exactly what I just said. So it's like when we speak our truth and the risk and the outcomes that we get, they're so small compared to the ones that we have to face and deal with when we don't speak our truth. They are so much more uncomfortable because they're not ours. So they're so much harder to deal with and process and go through. And I really love that. So from this podcast episode, I just really wanted to delve into that and speak into that. And I really wanted to serve for you as like a permission slip for you to think about how you can start to speak your truth. And I'm going to go through some little tips now that can help you. And I want you to know that, you know, from my personal experience, speaking your truth is so hard. But when you come out the other side of that, it really changes who you are as a person. And it's like, as soon as you start to lean in and speak your truth even more, things open up and shift for you in your internal world. And, you know, you strengthen that resilience, you strengthen your inner voice, you strengthen your core self, you strengthen your trust with yourself, because you're building evidence that it's safe for you to speak your truth. You're building evidence that it's, you know, you're capable of getting through any struggles that come as a result of you speaking your truth. And I always say as well, like, people can't take that away from you. And that's one of the things I really respect about Jordan Peterson, and I really relate to when he talks about this. It's like, nobody, if you speak your truth and you live from your most authentic self, nobody can ever take that away from you. Whereas, like, if you don't speak your truth, you open yourself up for, you know, the shadow self to come in even more. You open yourself up for people to not treat you the way that you want to be treated. You open yourself up for that deception of the self, that manipulation of the self. And it's not as easy to understand who you truly are if you're not speaking from your truth. And I think I've always thought this, but, you know, you want to get to the end of your life and think, fuck, that was a ride, but it was worth it. It was so worth it. And I think truly going after the things that you desire and truly being the woman that you desire to be is gonna make that happen. Like, it's going to make that happen. Take out success and 10k months and any of this other stuff. Just getting to the end of your life and being like, yeah, I'm happy with that. Because, you know, life is going to throw you curveballs and life is going to throw you challenges, like it is now very much. And it has the past few years for us all. But that's never going to go away. And it's about, it feels like for me, it's about like embracing that and actually making every single part and pocket of life worth it. Even the struggles, making them worth it. So some tips for you to begin to speak your truth. So connect with your intuition. So these are just 8 like tips that you can start to speak your truth. And also, like, having a coach helps, going to therapy helps, having that supportive person in your life that you can speak to massively helps, because the more you're in a situation where you can truly vocalize what it is that you want and how it is that you feel and how you want your life to look like, then, you know, these are the things that are going to strengthen your trust with yourself, which is going to allow you to start to speak from that space more. So first one, connect with your intuition. So that's a big one. So connect. So often when we are in spaces where we need to speak our truth, and personally for me, I from my experience, I think when I've needed to speak my truth, it's always, the majority of the time, being uncomfortable. So it's like usually in an uncomfortable situation where my default is do not say that or just forget it. And, you know, when I was talking before about that self-deception and that self-manipulation, that's where it comes in, like that self-gaslighting comes in, and it's like, no, it doesn't really matter that much, or no, don't speak your truth, or no, don't say that out loud, like it's fine. Or no, you're not fed up of working in that job, like it's fine, you should be grateful that you've got a job, all of these things. So when you take your mind out of it and you just drop into the body and you connect with your intuition, you really, really harness that power and that trust of understanding and just getting that like guidance in terms of what you're feeling and what it is that you need to do. So your intuition is going to be there and telling you like that internal voice, like that internal voice is going to have the time to speak and guide you. So connecting to your intuition, and you can do that through meditation, some breath work. If you're feeling a little overwhelmed or you're feeling uncomfortable or you feel like there's something you want to do or you want to say, just take a minute to go to a different room, breathe, try and drop out of the mind into the body. So focus on your breath and just maybe ask yourself a question like, what is it that I need to do right now? Or is it safe for me to speak my truth? Or what, even asking yourself, feeling into it, like, what is my truth? And that inner voice will come in. And this is the second one, like, trust in your voice, like trust in that internal voice that comes up. Not always the mind. I mean, the mind is such a powerhouse, but like the mind is so complex, and part of the mind is the shadow self. So when you connect to your intuition and you connect to that body internal wisdom, you're building that trust with yourself when you act upon that. So taking small steps quite often to lean into your truth, whether that's speaking your truth, whether that's acting in your truth. So it doesn't always need to be vocal, but whether you act in accordance with your truth. So, you know, if you think about that in a business perspective, if your truth is the thing that you want more in this life is to build, let's say, a successful business that has a worldwide impact, and it's a multi-six-figure business, and now you are at the beginning stages, or you're at the stages where you're visualizing, you're leaning into that truth, you're listening to that internal voice. Maybe there's people around you that saying, this is not possible, like, how's it going, like, is this working how you thought it was going to work? Any like external stuff that you hear around you that could make you doubt your truth. So just you showing up every single day and acting in alignment with that truth, with that ultimate, that goal, that thing that you want, that is you acting toward your truth, like living into your truth without being vocal. And another thing is, just if you're in a situation and you don't like something, instead of vocalizing it, you know, your truth might be, I don't appreciate XYZ. You're in a situation where that is occurring, you just remove yourself from the situation. So all of these things are ways that you can practice trusting your voice, but also doing it, not always needing to sit down and be vocal and have a big conversation. Like, there's many different ways, whether that's physically or energetically, that you can begin to lean into living your truth and embodying your truth. So yeah, practicing that, and practicing really connecting to your voice, your internal voice as well. Like I said before, another tip, having somebody to talk to. So having somebody to talk to where you can go to make sense of your thoughts, go to make sense of your feelings, go to help you speak your truth, help you manage a conversation, help you manage conflict. If you are trying to set boundaries in a relationship, and let's say you've been in that relationship for a long time, you've grown as a woman, and all of a sudden you have some different boundaries and that's not working well with your partner, instead of feeling like you have to manage that and navigate that on your own, having a coach or having a therapist or just having somebody to talk to really support you with that process is super beneficial. Next one, let go of the labels. So again, this is like really important, because not labeling it as anything other than my truth. So not labeling yourself as a bad person, not labeling yourself as somebody who's selfish, somebody who's a dreamer, somebody who's got their head in the clouds, like whatever it is, dropping all of those labels and just coming back to, this is my truth. This is me leaning into my truth, and giving yourself permission to do that. Like, it's safe for you to do that. It's okay for you to do that. And again, like I've said in this podcast episode, whatever results come from that, whatever consequences come from you speaking your truth, whether good or bad, that's your path. Like, you can deal with those consequences because you've spoken your truth and you are in your power. And then the last one I want to say is take the pressure off. So when you think about, you know, operating from a space of truth, it's like, don't put pressure on yourself to be doing anything or to be doing all of the things or to be making it work right now. So if you struggle to continue to set boundaries, or you struggle to put your needs first, don't beat yourself up and put pressure on yourself, because you don't need to. As long as you're constantly taking those steps, you're continuously growing, you're continuously taking those steps to really step into your truth and your power, then it's okay, because it's not easy to do. And, you know, I think as a society, we've been conditioned to not speak our truth. And people who do that are usually judged or seen a certain way. So we're fearful of speaking our truth. We're fearful of the judgment, and we're fearful of the consequences, because we don't feel like we're equipped enough to deal with it. And often we put a lot of other people's needs above our own. So this is also really like one of the big things that I got from self-love, and one of the things that I would massively help my clients with is just being authentic. And that is what authenticity is for me. It's like living in that space of truth. And that's why I go on about authenticity so much in business as well, because it's like, once you harness that power, nobody can take it away from you, because you're not looking for anybody else to give you that power. You're giving it to yourself, and literally no one can take you away from that. When you're in your authentic power and your truth, you really are unstoppable. And actually you can deal with more than what you realize. And I've honestly realized that the past few years is like, if you told me I was going to go through this in 2020, this in 2021, and this in 2022, I would have been like, oh my God. But you know what? I've done it, and I'm here, and I'm a totally different woman, and I got through it. And I remember being in things and thinking, I never feel like I'm ever going to get out of this situation. And you do. You manage, you learn to cope. So yeah, don't put pressure on yourself. So that is today's episode, and I have loved this episode so much because I just love Jordan Peterson, and I love what I got from him. So yes, there we go. And I just want to end on this lovely little quote. So, the truth is like a lion. You don't have to defend it. Let it loose and it will defend itself. So on that note, my loves, I hope you've enjoyed this podcast episode. Please share it with me on socials. If you've enjoyed it, tag me, let me know what your biggest takeaway was, drop me a message, or please, if you can, leave me a review on Apple or Spotify. That would be amazing. And yeah, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, whatever it is that you are doing. And I shall be back soon for another episode. I see you, I love you, thank you for being here.